Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Good evening. Call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Belza.
Here.
Councilmember Gilchrist.
Here.
Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bettacavoli.
Here.
And Mayor Branstone.
Here. Everybody, please stand and join the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, any changes to the agenda?
There are, Mayor, thank you so much. There will be no presentation from Dr. Ravelis tonight. This will be rescheduled at a future meeting.
Mr. City Attorney, anything to report on closed session items?
There is nothing to report.
Okay, and we're going to scratch out the postpone the good Dr. Bellis. Let's see, if it's okay with the rest of the council, I'd like to at least move some of council comments to the front of the meeting while something is on my mind. And anybody else can join in. We can do council comments again at the end. Thank you. Thank you. Bruce, did you want to start? It's a topic near and dear. I'll get it started.
You go right ahead and start it. Thanks.
Y'all may remember that about a year ago, when at least I was first getting started, there was an active conversation about the Juvenile Detention Center and the fact that the county was going ahead with spending $26 million of actually 3 counties were spending the money to build a juvenile detention center for Yuba-Sutter in Yuba County, and they're going to plop it in Marysville near the location of the existing juvenile hall. And a point was made by more than just me, but not only in meetings while campaigning and in a liaison meeting with the Board of Supervisors, that we just don't have any more room for expansion of the county footprint in Marysville. It's harmful. In fact, if anything, we'd like to see at least I'm speaking for myself, I would like to see a reduction of the county footprint inside the city of Marysville. There's no property taxes paid, and we are providing services. I know that our police department is a first responder to anything that happens at the juvenile detention facility. The fire department is clearly a first responder for anything that happens inside Marysville. And I thought that point was made, and apparently was not taken very seriously, because the Old Long's Drugs facility next to the Save Mart in Marysville is now the subject of a potential acquisition by the county for expansion of their administrative footprint. this is upsetting to me, again, personally. And I think it's potentially, well, it just continues harm and adds insult to a harm already done to the city with such a large footprint when there's so much county out there to locate county facilities. And so I will be asking, the Vice Mayor and I are members of the liaison committee with the county, and I'm reaching out to the our fellow members there. Vice Mayor and I met with Don Blazer, who's also a member, Supervisor Don Blazer, who's also a member of that committee, just yesterday, and had a preliminary conversation and expressed thoughts. Anyway, I wanted to get that on the record before we got to the end of the meeting, and it might have slipped my mind by then. So I appreciate your indulgence on that. Did anybody else have anything they want to say now? Vice Mayor.
I think we had a great conversation with Don. We expressed a number of things that we were unhappy with, besides just the juvenile hall, but we made it clear that that was kind of what set all this off. And we just kind of threw some ideas at them of if they were going to do this, we needed to be able to have some approval with it. We wanted to have either some kind of a contract or an MOU to guarantee that we get something to cover our police and fire services. I think it went well. I think Supervisor Blazer was there to represent Marysville very well. And I think we got a lot of positive stuff to look forward to on this.
There will be ample time to discuss remedial measures with the county and see if they respond. Anyway, thank you for your indulgence. Anybody else have anything to say at this point? Save it for later. Thank you very much. We will now move to community consent calendar forum. Individuals wishing to address the council concerning consent calendar items or matters not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. If you would like to comment, we do have someone here in person, and you're attending this meeting in person, please complete a speaker's card, return it to the city clerk. When called upon, go to the podium to address the council. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. When you're called upon by the clerk, you will be unmuted and you can address the council. Whether you are here in person or attending via Zoom, when called upon, please give your name clearly for audio recording, or requested to address your comments to the council and not to the audience. By state law, the council is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. If you have any documentation you'd like to be distributed to the council, please mail it to the city clerk, 526 C Street, Marysville, California, 95901. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to comment?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we move to the consent calendar. All matters on the consent agenda are considered routine and therefore approved by one motion unless a council member or the city manager first request that a matter be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. What is the will of the council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Okay, discussion and action calendar. All matters in this section of the agenda are discussed and will be acted on individually. Members of the public may request to speak on any of these items for up to 3 minutes when called upon for public comment. If you'd like to comment, you're attending this meeting in person, please complete a speaker's card, turn to the city clerk, and called upon, please go to the podium to address the council. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. When you're called upon by the clerk, you'll be unmuted and you can address the city council. Whether you are here or in person or attending via Zoom, when called upon, please give your name clearly for audio recording. If you have any documentation that you would like to be distributed to the council, please mail it to the city clerk, 526 C Street, Marysville, 95901. The first matter on the discussion and action calendar titled Award a Contract for Construction of the Improvement for the 5th Street Rehabilitation. The recommendation, pass a motion to adopt an appropriately numbered resolution awarding a contract in the amount of $3,058,362 with All American Construction, Inc. for the construction of the 5th Street Rehabilitation, contract number 2101, Federal Aid Project, STPL-5009-030, based on the improvement plans and contract documents. Mr. Jim Shadd, City Mayor, do you have something to say about this?
Sure. Long-awaited construction project for the 5th Street Improvement Project. We as you are, most of you are aware, we finished the design work, went out to bid. We were slightly over the engineer's estimate, not unexpected in today's environment, but do want to move forward with the project and recommend doing so. Our Director of Finance has identified the means to make up that difference in both Fund 21, our gas tax fund, as well as, if necessary, SB1 funds. Looking forward to getting this one going, and we have Don Mallon, our city engineer, here to speak to any detail of the engineering and construction of the project.
So John was doing that, and I can speak on that.
If you have questions.
Okay. First, I think we have to let the public ask first. One time in a row, we get that right. Do we have any public comment?
No comment at this time.
Time for public comment, please. Let's see. Members of the council, any questions or comments?
Through the chair.
Please.
So I get it, is that the financial discrepancies is, well, by the way, job well done. Thank you. It's a long time coming. This project's been on for 5 years, almost thereabouts. And I remember when I first got on the council, we were talking about design approval and so forth and everything so forth. And I know we've gotten past all that. We knew that eventually, the longer that we waited on this project, the more money is going to come. I'm a little confused on the discrepancy. Are we talking the $8,362, or are we talking about the $200,000 to $458,000 in discrepancy on difference on this? That'd be for you, I guess, John, since I don't see finance here. We'll go from there. You're lit up.
Yep. No, so the discrepancy on the project is the funding available. Basically, we have through Caltrans total for construction, or through the federal aid total for the project is $3,050,000. So that's everything. So the additional funding would be for obviously construction management and inspection during construction, and any contingency, and the 10% contingency that we put in for any potential, field changes or issues during construction, which sometimes happen in Marysville because of all the
antiquated streets that we find and we dig, and it's, yeah, I understand.
It's pretty much industry standard to budget for 10% just so that you have the funds available. So, and part of it is a lot of the materials have just gone through the roof.
Sure.
I think on this one, the one that got us the worst was the decorative streetlights and the signal poles. They were like double what everybody thought they were going to be.
Right. I get that. And I'm all for making it look good as it happens, even though I'm not a design guy. But that being said, I do know that we worked at SACOG with a lot of funding on this and so forth, and they were able to give us a little bit of that last little step to make things happen. If this becomes awarded tonight, which I hope it does, how far out are we looking for breaking ground? I know weather contending, all that kind of fun stuff.
Well, the contractors asked me if we could start next week. So
weather's good. Weather's good.
So you know, realistically, a lot of it's just the weather, you know,
Certainly.
how well the weather. A lot of this work involves, you know, replacing the curb gutter and sidewalk and making adjustments to it, which is, if he does it incrementally during the winter, you can get started and do that work because it's not a big area of disturbance and you're able to button it up quickly. So that's one of the things he's looking at doing. Really, some of the things that are the holdback on it are those street lights and signal poles and a couple of the other items that have a long lead time. He's worried that he may get everything else done and then be waiting on those items to finish up. So that's why he wants to get his submittals in, get everything ordered, and then start working on the modifications. So it may be one of those scenarios where he gets everything done as far as the curb gutter and sidewalk and even the paving, and be waiting on some of the other items for the long week.
So depending on weather, this could be anywhere from, 3 months to 7 months, rough road, all that kind of fun stuff.
Our anticipated completion is by the end of summer. So
End of summer. Okay. Thank you. One more question and then I move on. So because we've been in this for so long, I'm a little muddled in my memory. There was a lot of things that were brought up before this council by the public with constraints to business and parking and so forth. The last rendition that I remember, we weren't getting rid of a lot of parking in front of the existing businesses, just the park and the hospital. Is that still, maybe, I don't have it in front of me.
It kind of transitions, obviously, because the goal of the project was to incorporate turn pockets in order to make it safer down this street, because a lot of the issues with accidents are obviously because you just have the 2 lanes both way, and you'll get people stop and make a left turn, and then somebody will go around them on that outside lane, and that's where you get a lot of issues. So we are transitioning over. So there are some businesses between I and H that are going to be reduced parking.
I vaguely remember that. I just want to make sure, because it's been a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I've looked at
and nothing's changed on the alignment since the last one that approved.
All right.
It's mainly just been waiting for all the different, a lot of it's been waiting for funding.
Yeah, funding.
As you mentioned with SACOG, we had funds left over from the design, the way it was budgeted. And then we got the first round of award, which was basically half the construction cost.
I remember that.
And then we went back and got the second award, through the grant program that was the other half. And then when we came up short, we actually talked to SACOG if there was any other opportunities. And basically, the only thing they had was they give you a really good loan.
I do remember that. So
that was kind of the options that we had available.
So just so we're clear, I have zero interest in slowing this project down. I'm just trying to find a little clarification of what's going on here. The final rendition of what it potentially may look like, and this might be for the city or something, is there a place that people can go and look at that, either via online or anything of that sort?
That's my question.
I'm stolen. I'm sorry. It's kind of one of those things.
To
So
the chair.
it's.
I have the plans. It's 4C, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. When we did the alternatives.
Yeah. So it's plan 4C, and we can pull up that design and put it on Facebook if you like.
Well, that's what I'm
asking. I
asking.
also have a copy in my office.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilman Gilchrist. And that's where my question is that if people are going to start asking, and I'm going to hear it and all that kind of stuff at this wonderful business that I own, and I just want to be able to send them in a direction where they can go look at it, because I don't have that plan.
Is tie into the bridge project and what's Yuba City's doing on their side of the river on Bridge Street. So it's kind of a continuation of that, a little bit of a median in the middle, and then a little bit more work on the.
And I knew that. Thank you, John, because I know that I did not exactly vote for Plan C, but it got passed, and I'm cool with it. Just let's move forward. It's just I want to be able to show them, because I went back and looking for my stuff, and I go, no, let's see if we can get something for the public to look at. And that's when I'm just asking if we can.
Madam Clerk, we can put that on the website or a link, correct?
That is correct.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. That's all I want to talk about on that one. And thank you, John, for your work on this. I know it's been many years coming. I'm looking forward to start next week if we can, but that's not to be said yet. So let's go.
I think that's a little overly ambitious, but That gives you an idea. Well, you look at the weather right now. A lot
Oh, yeah,
of
I know.
contractors are trying to get started on things just because you never know. This could, in our area, sometimes you get this false sense of, springs come early, and sometimes it actually does. So, everybody wants to just try and, especially something like this where there's portions of the work that can be done.
Yes, let's start away. Thank you, John, for everything. I can say.
Vice Mayor.
John, I don't think I understood you. The $3,058,000 includes all of the changes, or there?
No, that's the contract document.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what was the additional on top of that?
And we usually put in a 10% contingency. So
Okay,
that during construction, if you have any issues.
and you named a couple other things too, though. Construction
And
management.
construction management. Originally, when we budgeted through SACOG, we had what was it? It was roughly 8%, I think, that we put in for.
Okay, give me a dollar number.
I think it was,
What are we going to add on to the 3 million? How much?
and that's just a budget number. That's not a hard number.
Okay.
10% contingency, which is roughly 305,000, and then 5% construction management and inspection, which is 152,000. That the contingency won't be spent unless you have some unforeseen problems. The construction management
So
will
what
likely-
is that total?
That totals 3,516,500 for the entire project with contingency.
Not 3,000, 3 million. Read that again,
3 million,
please.
I'm sorry.
3 million what?
3,516,500.
Okay, so we're about 800,000
466,
at least
500.
over what we originally were getting from SACOG.
No, we're
466,500 over what we were originally getting from SACOG.
and that's a budget number. Hopefully, we can keep things tight during construction. It'll be significantly less than that.
Okay, and your comment on where we would pull the rest of the money from if we had to? What was?
We would intend to pull it from our fund balance in Fund 21, which is gas tax fund, the SB1, basically.
The SB1 money. Okay. I'd rather use that somewhere else than this, but
So would I.
I'm with Councilman Hudson. If they want to start tomorrow, sign the papers. I'll be good with it.
And some of that, the budget for the construction admin, that includes all city staff time associated with the project.
Oh, okay.
So like from, Jim's time to, if we have legal review, my time, Jennifer's time doing paperwork with child training,
Gotcha.
It's the entire package. That's what it's in.
Gotcha. All right.
I have 3 points I'd like to address. First, I think you missed a wonderful opportunity at this point to present some descriptive artwork. and rather than just relying on Facebook and Mr. Zuckerberg, there's better places to display things. Send one out to the newspaper. Maybe we can put something up in the lobby downstairs, people coming in, and maybe put one in the info center and spread the good news. This is an exciting project, and we should be banging the drum on it. Number one. Okay, number two, street parking is going to be eliminated in certain areas. Exactly what areas will street parking be eliminated on?
I believe in it everywhere from E to I.
Okay, E to I. Okay, got that. That's what I understood.
Mr. Mayor.
Because that's what I told the incoming CEO of Adventist Rideout, and he hadn't heard that yet. He was concerned.
One quick question and direct. I thought when we went to see that the last 2 blocks before the bridge, the parking was going to stay. Yeah, no, either H or the alley, actually, I thought.
H and I.
Am I wrong? And that's
We're
what,
transitioning to pick up the left turn pocket between I and H, so that then the parking fades out there.
Just on that.
okay, that's totally not what I had understood, but I thought we were putting
I didn't
back
come
in.
prepared.
Pardon me?
I didn't come prepared with an exhibit.
Yeah. Okay.
Next, how is traffic going to be managed? I mean, is the, you're gonna run it on half of it and then run it on the other half and keep traffic moving on the street? Yeah.
Well, the majority of the construction
And
is,
how long will construction be ongoing?
the majority of the work during the contract is going to be on the sides of the street. So it'll be losing like an outside lane on, one side while they're working down the one side of the street, and losing the outside lane on the other side of the street as they work down the street. This isn't a full gut out, so it's going to be a grind and overlay. So really the only work in the middle of the street will be the putting in the islands and the modifications for that, other than some storm drain crossings and a couple other items in for the signals. So the contractor's never really going to take like the whole street. So more than likely it'll be come down one side, take the outside lane, come down the other side, take the outside lane, then probably take the two inside lanes as he works on each block. So it'll still allow for quite a bit of traffic circulation.
So if, let me, I've got a couple on that. So say the construction started March 1st. How many months?
I'd say probably 3 to 4
Okay, thank
of
you.
actual traffic impact.
Do they have to submit a traffic plan?
Yes. That is one of the submittals for the contractor. But actually, we're going the other way. When we're replacing the curb gutter and sidewalk, we're raising the gutter. So then we're actually going to use that as part of it. And then, so there'll be a profile grind to change the crown of the road, and then the raised curb and gutter. And then it'll be a 4-inch overlay on top of that. So.
Again, I think, Mr. Shad, I think a press release to the appropriate publications and what have you. Let's bang the drum on this. And you had something to say?
In the last packet I reviewed, there is a traffic study. There's a plan showing how the traffic will be diverted by each block. Is that still accurate?
That would be on days when they're doing like paving or something.
Yeah.
They actually have to.
You actually
have to close down the road.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time they'll do it under normal traffic control, so they won't have to divert traffic.
So
around.
The paving itself is a very short time period.
Yes, we were talking,
Grinding
a small number of days.
And so that can be posted in, for instance, the info center, et cetera.
Yeah, and
because
I
I mean,
think
it's really good
that's
looking stuff.
One of the things we can work with the contractor is they're going to submit, project schedule, and we'll make, like you said, press releases to the public in the Appeal Democrat, notifying when any major traffic control changes will make. That's similar to what they were doing when they were severely impacting the intersection of 5th and J with the bridge project. They were kind of giving an update of when they were doing a lane shift. We could do something similar to that.
These publications love having content given to them, and this is great content, and it's something I'm sure they'd use.
I think that the press release that our mayor is discussing right now is a positive press release saying the project is moving forward. I know we'll have some press releases out there expressing the inconvenience, but let's.
Oh yeah, no, I think it'd be 2 independent items. Correct.
Any further questions or comment? What's the will of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous in a loud voice. All right. Moving ahead, item number 4 on the agenda, entitled Contract Agreement between the City of Marysville and D10/Hallwood Community Services District. Recommendation: pass a motion to 1, approve an appropriately numbered resolution, and 2, authorize the city manager to enter into a contract agreement between the City of Marysville and the D10/Hallwood Community Services District for emergency services to be provided. And Chief Ron Carlin, I understand you are here to.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. After many months of meetings and negotiation, we have finally come up with an agreement with the D10 Hallwood Fire District in regards to a contract. We had looked at for the last our true that was reasonable to both parties, and agreed on a dollar amount that also not just takes into consideration our operational cost to them for service, but also our equipment replacement program that we've been working towards making more robust. And so they are also putting in money towards replacement of fire apparatus each year for that. In this contract, also have later the second year of the contract based on the CPI factor, there will be an increase. And then on the third year, we will do a full analysis of the operational cost once again to make sure that we stay true to what their costs are based on our expenses incurred. The contract life is for 10 years. It makes them feel better about us not throwing them out to shore. And so this same process of analysis will go on through the life of that contract. So we'll have much better accountability and keep things more realistic to the cost of that time frame. And so with that, this is retroactive back to July 1 of this previous year. And so once we solidify the contract, then we will move forward with this.
Thank you. This matter is now open for public comment. And quick, do we have any public comment?
Not at this time, Mayor.
After public comment is closed, members of the council, any questions or comments?
To the chair. I think I heard you right, Ron. There will be the equipment replacement account. There will be money put in it every year. And will it be the 40 grand every year? What's the idea here?
Yes, every year they'll put in $40,000, and that's again through a formula we use based on the equipment, the cost amortized over a year's cost. We came up with $40,000. So the life of the contract, they'll put in $40,000 a year plus what their increases are that they'll pay annually.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Comment? Chief, thank you for your work on this. As an individual that's been intimately involved for almost 3 decades out there, knowing what they used to pay and what they are willing to pay at this particular juncture, I think is phenomenal. And it's a lot of hard work getting there, and appreciate the years of work of you making it happen. So I'm excited to see this and go from there. So thanks for your work on that, Chief Carr.
To the chair. So just out of curiosity, is the 40,000 also subject to the CPI increase, or is it just the regular contract amount?
It's everything outside the equipment replacement amount of the 40,000. So that will stay constant.
Just flat 40.
That will stay constant. And then the extra money that's accrued with the CPI will go back into our general fund side of the dollars.
Okay, thank you. What was the thought process in not having the CPI applied to the 40,000 a year?
The CPI is applied to the total amount. So the 170 is kind of our starting point with the contract. So when we look at CPI and say it's 2% increase, it is saying where that goes into our equipment replacement.
I understand. Okay, thanks.
A product of negotiation. Pardon me. Any other questions or comments? Barring none, will the council
Move to approve.
Second.
motion
Second.
and a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, connects.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief Carlin. Item number 5 on the agenda, titled FEMA Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. There's an acronym, SAFER grant application. The recommendation. pass a motion to, one, authorize the city manager to submit for FEMA SAFER grant, and two, authorize the city manager to accept the grant if awarded. Chief Ron Carlin, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor. This grant, this will be the third time for staffing today. Last year we had fighters, which will get us to the 5 staffing that we desire. And so we're going to give it one more shot this year to see if we can be successful. We have done additional homework this go around and did some solicitation on how we were rated on the last go around where we were not successful. So we've learned some things. And so we're just trying to retool the SAFER application. It's very competitive. It's against the United States Fire Service, not just in California. So once again, we'll try to see if we can be successful with getting those 3 additional firefighters, which would help us and be successful with staffing our second vehicle for responses. It's a 3-year grant like we are currently with the SAFER program, although this year, as of last year also, there's no matching funds. And so it's this would be funded for 3 years under the SAFER program, 100% as far as salaries and benefits go. And so we're just hoping to be successful this program.
Thank you. Time for public comment is open. Do we have any public comment?
No comment tonight, Mayor.
Public comment closed. Any comments, questions from the Councilman Hudson?
Yes, I'm up.
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I didn't get a chance to fully read the SAFER grant, fully familiar with SAFER grants, and we've existed on SAFER grants for decades, kind of going from there. Does this particular SAFER grant have a phase in for fiscal responsibility, or is it like, you know, 1 year it pays 100%, the next year it pays 40, or is it going to pay 100%?
Between the program we're currently in, where we had to pay matching funds increasing over the 3-year period. So it kind of gave us a slow transitioning into where we're at today. With this program, it's 100% funded for 3 years. And so then we would be looking at complete funding of those 3 positions
10 years
at the end of the 3 years of that period.
Well,
it's good and bad.
It is good and bad. That's a double-edged sword right there. It's 3 years of staffing that we don't have to pay for that is potentially paid for by the federal government should we be awarded after major competition. And Chief, again, I applaud you because I applied for a lot of these grants when I was with the fire department and with my current position with an institution here. And they're not easy to get in any way, shape, or form. And that being said, I have not had a chance to talk to any of the staff or our city manager. Is there a plan B, a contingency, or anything of that sort that we might be able to be looking at if this doesn't happen? I mean, do we have a plan? It's like, I mean, everybody's got their budget. You got your budget, the police department's got their budget, they got their budget. Are we looking at ways to work within said budget for if the SAFER doesn't work?
I don't think we currently have a plan. I think that's something that we're still trying to strategize for the future based on where revenues might potentially go. I know the city manager might have some thoughts on this conversation as well, but it's just something we're constantly looking for opportunities. We know with the Measure K funding coming up in the county and the district, there may be a possibility there to get some extra revenues to support another position. But outside of that, it's just kind of wait and see what new revenues might be out there that could help cover a cost like this program.
And I appreciate it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's just we haven't had the opportunity to have a shop like we've had in the past to be able to figure out a plan. I'm not calling you guys on a basis. So it's a plan B is always a good business plan. For one, is that I would love to see us get this, and for one, I will adamantly vote for applying for the SAFER grant here. Just kind of wondering, as a business member, sometimes best business laid plans don't work out. So I was wondering if we as a city or department and or city have thought about other ideas that we might be able to do in the future for plan B, because staffing is an issue with all of our departments, not just fire, police, public works, and so forth.
I think the mayor has hit on Plan B multiple times during our discussions, and that is increasing revenue, our general fund revenue. So without some source of revenue, we can't shoulder those expenses. And I would suggest that whether we get the SAFER grant or not, our probably lowest hanging fruit on revenue is cannabis, to be honest with you.
That was a good segue, by the way.
So I think if we are able to get cannabis cultivation, that would fund some additional public safety positions.
Well, not that I want to open up that conversation, but I thought we had that. Okay, that being said, I get it from your point of view. Basically, what I'm hearing from both sides right now, from the department and from the manager, that if we don't do cannabis, we got no luck of being able to increase staffing for the fire department.
I think there may be some other revenue sources out there too. I'm not saying cannabis is the only answer.
Well, that's what I kind of heard.
There could be, as an example, if we do build a hotel on the property, there could be TOT tax. So I will commend the chief. He is looking at how he can get a portion of that Measure K funding, which would afford one of the three. And he and I had a discussion that even bringing one on would fund or allow us to operate 2 units a third of the time. So there's some advantage of that. Even if we get the SAFER grant, I think we need to be looking at how we phase in revenue, and we need to generate more revenue. Bottom line.
Well, I get that 100%. Don't necessarily agree with cannabis, but thank you. I would concede. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
One, I wanted to tell you congratulations on the D10. Great job. Great job. The only question I had is, our current SAFER grant, is it a 21-22 ending or a 22-23 ending?
The current SAFER program we have now will expire in March of 23.
Okay.
So next March.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair,
Please.
we have figured out how to fund those SAFER grant firefighters for continued employment after that one disappears.
So the first one we have.
Okay, just want to clarify that. Thank you.
I may. Speaking of revenue, we do not know, or we have not been informed, when Caltrans intends to commence work on, obviously there's a disagreement that's being discussed right now, but presuming that project goes ahead, and I presume it will, we have no idea, at least I have no idea, when they plan to start. Nor do we have any idea how long that project will be ongoing and affecting Marysville. And we are all aware here, so and other people around town are also aware of the top 20 list of sales contributors in the city of Marysville. And a goodly number of those are along the Highway 70 corridor. And that traffic will be, I imagine a lot of people are going to be turning right at Robinson's Corner, the Great Gridley Highway, if you will. And it could have a meaning of all sorts of services. So it's something to keep in mind in discussions with Caltrans, and in more specifics, and also plans, well, I won't go any further than that, but I'm just talking about the money. And Highway 70, you look up and down Highway 70 and you see, I'd say at least half of the names on that top 20 list of sales tax contributors. So a thought. Thank you. Any other comment?
Nope, just entertain a motion to approve once you're done, Mayor.
Will of the council.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Let's see. Okay, we're now going to have a public hearing. All matters in this section of the agenda are formal public hearings, actually just one public hearing, and will be acted on individually. Members of the public may request to speak when called upon for public comment. If you'd like to comment and you're attending the meeting in person, no one here. If you'd like to comment and you are on Zoom, raise your hand via Zoom, and when called upon, you'll be unmuted. If you're here in person or attending via Zoom and called upon, please give your name clearly for audio recording. If you have any documentation you'd like to be distributed to council, please mail it to the city clerk, 526 East Street, Marysville 901. Madam Clerk, let's see. Now I'm going to read the item first, aren't I? Okay. It's item number 6 on the agenda. Public review and adoption of the general plan safety element. And the recommendation, pass a motion to 1, hold a public hearing to review the general plan safety element, adopt an appropriately numbered resolution, and 3, adopt the 2021 safety element update. The contact on this is City Manager Mr. Jim Shad. Mr. Shad.
So this item is one of the 9 elements, I believe, Kathy, that are required by our state as part of our general plan, which we are working on the rest of those elements as we speak. The housing element and safety element are 2 items that have to be updated more often, and this body has already been presented the housing element and approved that as of recent. Our consultant, Kathy Pease, has been working on the safety element so that we can get that out of our way and move forward with the balance of the general plan. She is here tonight and can answer any detailed questions on the safety element. I believe she has a presentation to present as well.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Kathy Pease, and I am here this evening to present the updated general plan safety element. Next slide. On the phone as well to answer any questions are Isby Fleischman and Eli Crispy with PlaceWorks. PlaceWorks was the consultant that prepared the document. Next slide. The safety element has not been updated since 1983. And as Jim mentioned, the state now requires that the safety element be updated on an 8-year cycle on the same time frame as the housing element. Therefore, this chapter is being brought forward to you in advance of the rest of the general plan update. The current title of the element is Community Safety and Seismic Safety Element. It's proposed that we shorten this update to just simply safety element at this time. The safety element provides information so that the city and the community are equipped to respond to potential natural and man-made hazards. Some of the biggest changes in recent years are new expanded requirements to address wildfire risks, as well as community vulnerabilities. As part of the document, there's a matrix that identifies 67 population groups and community assets that could be impacted. Staff and the consultants met internally with police, fire, and public works to vet this information and the proposed policies. One of the new requirements is that the safety element be referred to the Central Valley Flood Control District at least 90 days before the council considers the document. So we went ahead and did this in July of 2021, and no comments were received. The Planning Commission considered the safety element in September of 2021, and they provided some really good comments. The consultants addressed those comments and updated the document, and a new version was made available to the public and posted on the city's website on November 1st. And then the Planning Commission considered the element again on November 10th. It was determined that the update was exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. That's because there would be no physical changes that would result from the updated information, and so therefore it qualified for an exemption. Next slide. So at this time, both the Planning Commission and staff recommend that the City Council adopt the safety element, and we're available for any questions.
Open for public comment. Thank you.
At this time, no comments.
Have the public comment closed. I have a question if nobody else does. Do you mind? Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, thank you. I have to admit, I haven't taken a deep dive on the safety element. How does the safety element, we have the experience recently of the Oroville Dam and the difficulties exiting Marysville and the risk to life that a prolonged exit poses. I presume, does the safety element dive deep into remedial measures or lessons learned, or how is that addressed, if at all?
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing that the safety element is supposed to address. And that's something that I had mentioned that we met internally to discuss the vulnerabilities. And that's something with police and fire that we did talk about, that there is a bottleneck that Marysville became a staging area and things like that. There are policies about addressing wildfire risk and evacuation routes. Evacuation routes are a required figure in the safety element. And I don't know if Isby or Eli have anything else they wanted to address on that point.
If I may, let me do a quick follow-up on that. We all remember being in school and having fire drills. I'm not suggesting a flood drill and we all load into our cars and see how quick we can get out of town. However, it would seem that a safety step could be, say, an annual publication by way of mail or some other broad means of distribution of what to do in the event of a similar problem. And that is, I mean, I was here in 1955, the Oroville Dam, and I remember everybody getting out of town. And we had this busing with a lot more people around the community and in the community trying to get out of town. It'd be interesting if something could be included to where there would be a regular reminder, and maybe based on location. You live here, something like this happens, this is what you should do. And it will make Chief Stacks and Chief Carlin's jobs a lot easier as they oversee any response. Thank you.
To the chair, before anybody speaks, I mean, I just had a question. Thank you, Mayor, for that. So I did read this, and in my time in this world, I've read a lot of safety plans. Okay, nothing quite this depth. Okay, but I've read a lot of safety plans on smaller situations, so forth. So much the fact that I didn't read too deep in every paragraph, because it did hit a lot of things that I don't necessarily think are going to be an issue with Marysville. Earthquakes, landslides, things of that sort. I get it, but they need to be addressed in there. I do have a question that I didn't see when I did read the safety plan, was that, and this is a general question, not necessarily, but the city staff, is that after the Marysville's historic events of floods, there was and is a slow rise flood plan that has been created, and to the best of my knowledge is still in play for the emergency notifications at certain riser marks of water within our levee system, and then it triggers certain general evacuations and so forth. Is that, it was in play 10 years ago, so I'm just asking if somebody could tell me on city staff right now, because I didn't see and hear, Kathy, anything mentioned about the existing plan on that particular emergency. Is that slow rise flood plan still in play, or is that being readjusted? Because those things do got to be readjusted every once in a while.
Yeah.
We still have the same amount of exits out of this, even though, you know, I lost the vote now, but it's all good. Thought I'd segue into that real quick. But it's still one of those things that we only got 5 exits out of the town. And yes, Mayor, you're 100% correct. The Great Flood of 2017, if nobody's not detecting my sarcasm in that, created a lot of problems. And it was a 9-hour exit out of this town for anybody that was there. And I know that the police department was high alert, as well as the fire department, with all kinds of other. That, I asked the question back then, was any of that addressed in the slow rise flood plan, or have we changed the slow rise flood plan? Is it still an applicable plan for the city of Marysville?
I'll defer to the chief, but there is still a slow rise flood plan. I believe we were updating that most recently.
Slow rise flood plan is still in play, along with our hazard mitigation plan. I met with Kathy's team in reference to that, so it still is in play. The slow rise flood plan is in revision right now, but it is a workable document that we could use in the event that we had an event tomorrow. There is some elevation changes that change periodically in the river bottoms just because of prior erosion. So we do have an elevation change in Riverfront Park that we're currently making adjustments to now, along with some of the fire staffing side of it, and also levy commission duties in reference to what their roles and responsibilities will be, because the old plan said it where, you know, the fire department needed to staff all the D-cell batteries, right? And
right.
All the safety vest, and, you know, that the fire department would be doing levee patrols when we're transferring all that to the levee district and commission now to establish their own group. So we're in that revision process right now, but it is a workable document that I met with Kathy's team on, and we're confident in the plan where it's at still today, even in the revision process, that we can implement it tomorrow and still be successful.
On that point,
Yes.
What I wanted to remind folks is, again, the general plan is a high-level policy document.
Yes.
So we start up here, and then ongoing with our partners in the county is the local hazards mitigation plan that's under, I think it's still being prepared, correct? And that's more detailed.
Yeah, the local hazard mitigation plan is the county's, County of Yuba's plan. It's the overarching plan that is, they just completed it. And so now they're doing some, they got their final, or they got their rough draft done. So they're in the final stages of approval on that. And then we'll be bringing that to council to adopt that overarching plan. And then we also have, so covered by the county's plan, but then is also in place as well. So we have all 3 of those that we've worked with Kathy's team on.
I think Kathy answered that for me. And I thank you, Chief, and thank you, Kathy. The general plan update here is a very broad stroke plan, and you educated me on that. So thank you. That I still was curious about, you know, not wanting to go into the weeds, but thank you for that, Chief. I'll let me know what's going on. This is a general broad stroke, and we're still got the other ones in place. So thank you for everybody for answering that for me. Thank you. Moving on.
Any other questions or comments? What's the will of the council?
Move to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Committee reports. Councilman Bowser.
No committee reports at this time. Well, I do have a topic that kind of. I'll wait till comments.
There you go. Councilman, go first.
Oh, Homeless Coalition, which is headed by Johnny Burke. So we just had a Homeless Coalition committee meeting, and the numbers are outstanding, actually. And I have them all here. However, I'm going to just shorten the evening by mentioning one really great item. And by the way, all of the statistics that the Homeless Coalition obtains is self-reported by those residentially challenged individuals. And so in the past 2 months in a row, no new vets required assistance. And that, I'll leave it at that, because that's amazing. And I will post this on social media. I was hoping to get a little more information from Habitat for Humanity on some things. And once I do, I'm going to write a great story about the success of the Homeless Coalition headed by Johnny Burke. And of course, there are lots of stakeholders, Yuba County, Sutter County, and it's really very exciting. You just have to look at the numbers. Thank you. Oh, wait, I have 2 other committees. So Yuba County Historic Resources Committee started meeting again, and we're talking about coordinating with Lon Hadamia's Three Rivers project to provide signage for the Three Rivers walkway that is proposed, and that's very exciting. And then we formed a new committee of ladies from Marysville that have assisted me in counting all of the streetlights throughout Marysville and tagging them and marking them up and putting them on documents so that we can hand this over to the city manager to get to the Public Works Department. So you're going to see little orange ribbons on all the light fixtures that aren't on, or that are on during the day, or are dim, or are flickering. And all of that is done by the public to assist our Public Works Department. And we meet every Monday. We've completed all of the downtown area, the Medical Arts District, the West Overlay District, and some other parts of East Marysville as well. And I want to thank all of the ladies on the committee. It was very exciting, despite how cold it was. You'll see those orange ribbons. Please leave them there. Thanks.
Councilman Hudson.
Excuse me, I have no real committee roots. I'm more likely a committee inquiry. And I know that we've done some realignment of the committees recently, and so forgive me for my lack of knowledge on this whole aspect. There was a time where I was on the Beale Air Force Base Liaison Committee, and I'm not 100% sure I'm still there or not. But kind of one of those things that I was also kind of curious whether I am or I am not. Have we had any correspondence from Beale Air Force Base in regards to wanting to do anything with the city as of late? Because I haven't really seen anything. But I'm also the first to admit I am really horrible at emails. So it's kind of one of those things that I'm not 100% sure we're going. So that's the inquiry I have right now.
So for your current inquiry, Councilmember Hudson, you are an alternate to the BL liaison, and Mayor Branscombe is the main member for that.
Well, he's a vet. I'm all for that. And so I was just kind of curious. Thank you for that clarification. Have we had any correspondence with Beale Air Force Base and want to do anything with the city as of late? Because I anything, and I'm not actually here.
Most of their correspondence does come via.
Yeah. Okay, that was my inquiry, and I thank you very much for your time. No other comments. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Not too much to report. Maybe a question here. Well, one comment. And I are going to get the liaison committee a little fired up here, hopefully for February's meeting. And I was in the meeting for LAFCO, and you were brought back in to be the LAFCO person, and I am still your assistant. You should have been on there so you could vote. Lastly, I just have a question, Jim, maybe you could answer this. I got a little bit of word on the cemetery that the Yuba Water Agency is going to be helping us out there with some funding. Is there, I think I got it from a good source.
I met with cemetery folks today, and 2 Yuba Water Agency personnel were there. I didn't hear them commit to any funding at this point. They also mentioned that they're going to look for some funding with the River Conservancy as well. I believe that's the entity. But they are definitely interested in doing some improvements. What we talked about today was some weed control around gravel roads and potentially backfilling some gravel. They didn't have a lot of other items they wanted addressed beyond that specifically. But I didn't hear money offered at this time.
It might have been more towards this whole weed control. There was some talk about, was there going to be a chemical issue of using the chemicals and that kind of stuff. So maybe I was being wishful thinking on the funding.
We are in further conversations with them. I think they're looking for some funding. I don't think the weed control will be difficult if we can apply. But I had the same concerns. Or what can we apply out there to control weeds?
Through the chair,
Please.
On that committee inquiry right there, quite some time ago, and I'm embarrassed / ashamed to concede to the fact that when I first got on this council, it was brought to our attention by the cemetery that particular juncture that there was out there. There was a time that when we replaced all of our current street lights with LED lights, we had a bunch of old lights, which I'm sure probably hit the dump by now. But we were going to try and help the cemetery by lighting up the cemetery at night with some stuff. And I know I brought that up in the past, but I have never finished on that. So that's my fault.
I noticed the light standards out there too, and they're old, probably metal halide or something like that. We have been working on the energy efficiency project, and I don't recall if our public works staff had them out there at the cemetery, but we can certainly look at that and potentially update to LEDs.
I know that the problem was originally that there were several of them that were non-operable, and we were going to give them used lights or see if we can help them out or something of that sort. And that's come up before this council a couple times in the past 3 years. So sorry for not following through with that, but I wondered if we can maybe eventually do that before I kick rocks. So thank you.
Okay. I don't have anything to report beyond what Vice Mayor touched on with the liaison committee with the county. Council correspondence, Madam Clerk, anything?
No correspondence for this meeting there.
Thank you, ma'am. City Manager's report, Mr. Shad.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. First of all, just on the topic of COVID, as many of us have noticed, the COVID infections are up within the region, and our organization is following that trend. We have seen many more cases of either COVID with our employees or their children, relatives, friends catching COVID and then being exposed. So that is the bad news. It has moderately affected our employees' attendance and therefore reduce the amount of services we can provide. The good news is we haven't seen any severe illnesses that I'm aware of. They've been mild to moderate case. That's just a trend currently. The other thing we're somewhat concerned about is just the testing that we're capable of doing. Our city clerk / risk manager / many other titles has been administering may present more false negatives than we would like to see. And we find later that when they get more significant testing that they do test positive. So it's been not terrible and not a terrible impact, but it has been an impact on the organization. The other item I had was Ellis Lake. We are going to move forward with the phosphate treatment as well as carp removal. And that should be awarding those two contracts should be coming to council, hopefully next council meeting, so that we can get moving on that. The ideal time to do that is in the springtime. And then last of all, we are working on Bryant Field, and we're going to be doing some work on the fence, and I guess a mock-up is the best way to describe it, to put up corrugated metal rather than the wood, and hope to see what that looks like. So once we're satisfied with that, I will probably be bringing another item to council to pay for corrugated metal and purchase that. Council member Gilchrist and Vice Mayor had looked at color samples, and though they chose this color, I overrode them and picked this color. Just kidding. These it was unanimous, pretty much this color that we're going to pick for the fence.
That other color is, I bought a sister from my car. I bought a car from my sister once, and it was
gremlin green.
No, she styled that as monkey vomit. Before we get into council comments, I do remember something on committees. Madam Clerk, would you make a note to contact your counterpart at the county and ask formally for a liaison committee items? First agenda item, the county's footprint inside of Marysville, and the second agenda item, oversight of Dr. Liu, who works for Yuba County and Sutter County, and the supervisors responsible. And specifically, do we have any data on the number of cases, hospitalizations, deaths, et cetera, that are because of COVID or with COVID? Are they keeping track of that? And we'd like to see that information. Thank you. Anyway, we'll move now to council comments and requests. Councilman Belza.
Yeah, a couple comments. One, I sat in on a meeting today with Say Love, and there's going to be a Say Love event last Saturday of the month, the 29th. Just some graffiti cleanup, general cleanup around town, and I think we're going to try to continue in the painting of the curbs down in the downtown area. We started before the Christmas parade and got quite a few of the handicap and a lot of the flame painted, and switched out some of the signage down on D Street. And so we're going to continue that effort and keep painting and doing other things. Salov's, I think they're known for picking up trash, but they're actually the group's pretty diverse in doing a lot of different projects and capital improvements and different things like that. So in that meeting, we also began discussions about the demolition of a wall, which at Bryant Field, which we think we can get a large percentage of done via volunteer efforts. And so started to kind of coordinate what that looks like, how it looks. And I think this next Saturday, you're on the recreation committee, with me in regards to that. Then on the 29th, we're going to have a meeting in the afternoon and try to go over to the ballpark and look at it and discuss what the demolition process looks like in coordination with construction phases, et cetera. So that'll be coming up, which is exciting. I love seeing the community come in and take part in a big project like that and take ownership. And it's not just the city-owned ballpark, it's the ballpark. And so it's a neat thing to see people jump on board with.
Force multiplier.
That's right. That's right. There was that. Oh, well, it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and then goes till noon, and then there's a lunch served. This one, the lunch is sponsored by Adventist Health, the Blue Zone, the new Blue Zone effort that's being done, and the lunch is going to be held at the 530 Event Center here in Marysville. So, and the rally point in the morning will be at the 530 Event Center. So. The other one is kind of a reminder request, you might say, and I was thinking about some things over the last few days, especially over the last couple of weeks about where we've been over the last year as a council and kind of what we've done, what we've talked about, and some of the accomplishments that we have. I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier, and maybe in December we should have brought it up, but if I remember right, when we were talking, when we put together this year's budget, Jim, you were pretty new to Marysville and kind of getting your feet wet and acclimated to how things were going. And we were going to do some type of a mid-year budget review and discuss kind of where we were at. There was a lot of things that we proxied from the previous budget that we brought in that and so I don't know, I thought maybe in the next meeting or two, or maybe in March, I don't know when the right time to do that is, to collect the data and kind of have an oversight of that. But
my finance director isn't here, but we have set a tentative calendar for doing the mid-year budget presentation, and I thought it was mid-February. Meeting in the middle of February. Perhaps the clerk can.
Either way, it's on the radar.
That would be timely.
Yeah, it's on the radar. And then that prompted another thought process of mine, which was...
Oh, I'm sorry, March 1st.
March 1st? Okay, cool. So then that prompted another thought, which is our goals, strategies, et cetera. And,
I would love that one to be mid-February.
Gotcha.
That one should probably come
on
first.
The radar. All right, that's good. And then the last thing that I'll make comment to is Stuart's comment about the homeless consortium. That's a great report on the vets tonight. And I did some digging a little while ago and did some research. And I got this, but what I was told, and this number actually blew me away, but the census is the census that's done, and Chief, you might be able to speak to this a little bit more accurate in the number side of it, but we do a census of our homeless population every couple of years, right? And it's estimated that we probably have 1,000 to 1,100, maybe 1,200 on the high end at some of the high points, but right around 1,000 to 1,100 homeless that live in our general region, right? Yuba-Sutter County. From April of 2021 to December 1st of 2021, they transitioned 162 homeless from a campsite into permanent housing. It's almost 14% of that homeless population that was transitioned from a river bottom type scenario into permanent housing where they are on their feet, being a productive person in society, have a permanent home to live, and then have transitioned through the process. And I thought, since you brought it up, I thought that number was absolutely outstanding, that in that short amount of time, we've seen 162 lives changed. And it goes back to the point that I always make, which is there's a big difference between someone who's homeless, which it's not a crime to be a homeless person, and then committing a crime in which they become criminal. And we put all of that underneath one umbrella and title of homelessness, but we really have to start being conscientious about separating that and recognizing there is a big impact on those that want help, need help, and are getting help. And that blew me away when I ran the numbers at 14% of that population was reached through the months of April to December. Those are big numbers, in my opinion. So anyways, Homeless Consortium is doing a good job to impact that. So we still have that crime element and that issue that happens that we've got to stay aggressive on, and you're doing good. Everybody's been proactive on getting that done, but there is some positive on the other side of this story as well. So anyways, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gilchrist.
Thank you. And, you know, the numbers from the Homeless Consortium, I feel it's important that we actually put together a town hall. We sent out an email quite some time ago to council and the mayor about Johnny Burke's availability. And we need to put together a town hall so that he can report these numbers. One of the other statistics that the Homeless Consortium, which is oversees a huge body of work, which includes the Marysville Police Department, Yuba and Sutter County Health, all of the hospitals, everyone that is affected by this situation. And I think it's important that we understand the numbers. The statistics of rentals that are available, which is 8%. I mean, there's nothing available. The income, the reasons for the being residentially challenged. You must know what these are. It's very important for us to understand why this is. Once you have an understanding about something, you can then work on a solution. So moving right along, the MBA, Marysville Business Alliance, is meeting on Thursday at 1 p.m. at Skip's Music on D Street. And this is a follow-up on our very successful Cowboy Christmas event, which Sapphire Marketing did an outstanding job putting together for the city of Marysville. It's an opportunity for the merchants to get together, to get feedback, et cetera. We're going to be talking about the general plan update, which is coming up, of which we have 2 elements already finished or in the works. And by the way, these elements are living documents, so they will grow and change as we do. And all of this is about producing and creating a plan for economic prosperity. That's it. And safety. So as we all know, First Street is completed. It's been marked now. The lines are down. It's incredible. It's providing parking for the merchants on First Street. And this goes to B Street to 3rd. The bike lane is in. It's vivid. It's exciting. F Street to 3rd and 4th. F Street to 6th. Once we have 5th Street completed, all of those little unfinished areas will be completed. And then a very exciting thing happened. Focus on Marysville started again, and it met at the Info Center, and it is meeting again. And of course, I don't have the date in front of me, but Mr. Leahy has come back and is heading Focus on Marysville. Just wanted to let you guys know. And that's my council comments for the week.
Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a few things that I wanted to comment on, but I think I'm going to reserve till I reconfirm with conversations on a few people and not just blow right now. But I do want to say thank you. Stuart, you're correct. First Street looks great. And I had no fathomable concept of being able to do the parking lanes in a diagonal aspect like that. And I think it turned out phenomenal. I don't know. I know that came from a couple of our local constituents, as I'm sure you had something to do with that as well, Councilman Gilchrist. When Jim told me that it was work, God, I go. As for the rest of things, I just appreciate the fact that the city's still working as a person that employs people with the current health things that are going on. It does make things difficult, and I just appreciate my employees to stay, and I appreciate the employees here in the city of Marysville that continue to work their way through that. Regardless of my opinion about the grander picture, I just want to thank everybody that continues to work through this tough times. It's just it's difficult for everybody that's involved. And there are a couple things I want to talk more about, but I'll wait to have a conversation with our city manager before I make a public comment on it. And Thank you to our staff and the council and public safety and public works for everything you guys do. Enough said. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Once again, I want to thank Ron. Great job on that contract. I mean, I could tell you horror stories from past councils of how they looked at that. So I'm thrilled. I'd like to give a little bit of credit back a couple councils because they're the one that started this 5th Street. We get to finish it, which is fantastic. We get to see the results of it. But previous to even Brad and I be on it, I mean, I believe at least 4 years before us. So that was years ago. And it's just now happening. So it goes to show how things work in government, which is sad. But very proud of the group that started it and very proud of us as a group to get it finished. Thanks.
Well, the comment is on a meeting. Adventist Rideout has a new chief executive officer appointed last November. His name is Chris Champlin. I was able to get where city manager Jim Shad and I met with him. We had 45 minutes. The first 8 minutes were taken up by our chief of police on a very important matter, a positive matter, not a problem, a positive matter. And 2 topics of discussion just for a get together were that there are some openings on the planning commission, and I have discretion on the comment. And someone from the hospital, closely connected to the hospital, would be interested in participating. It would inform the planning commission the insights of someone who's close to the blue zone in a real way. And anyway, long story short, Mr. Champlin has suggested a very senior member of his staff to join the planning commission. We're going to get together with that gentleman and move that forward. The other matter I suggested to him is that I want to think about the property that the hospital owns, that Adventist Rideout owns, and it's the property that is to the west of Huss Brothers on the south side of the street, all the way over the railroad tracks. That location is the favored location for a passenger rail station. Anyway, that is the favored location for a passenger rail station, and I want to include that in their planning. And I also informed him that the on-street parking along 5th Street was going to be eliminated, which was going to exacerbate an already difficult parking situation, which started discussions about parking structures and what have you. Anyway, he is very positive. He's very positive on Marysville. He described Marysville with his wife when he first was appointed, and his wife pointed to the Marysville Hotel suggested that's a perfect spot for, but we did station and a little bit of action further to that you don't know where it's going to go. What I did learn, and I did not know this, there are 150 traveling nurses associated with Adventist Rideout. Almost all of them are either in Lincoln or Sacramento because they cannot find suitable housing in this area. So something for us to keep in mind, market rate, whether it be Marysville Hotel, fingers crossed, or something else, something to keep in mind. That's an urgent need for the hospital. And given the close relationship we have with the hospital, as evidenced by work that Chief Sachs has done with them, it was a very productive meeting. I hope you all get a chance to meet Mr. Champlin. Good guy. Next meeting, Tuesday. February 1st, 6 p.m. Adjourned.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.